Have you ever woken up drenched in sweat from a dream, so vivid it felt like a warning? I'm not talking about those dreams where you're late for work or forgot to wear pants. No, this is deeper, more primal, like the universe is whispering in your ear, something is coming. Because sometimes a dream isn't just a dream, it's a premonition. You might laugh it off, shake it off, blame the spicy food. But then it happens again. The same symbol, the same falling, the same black shadow just out of reach. I had a friend, Michael, who dreamt of drowning 3 nights in a row calm water, silent pull, woke up gasping. The next week, his doctor found a blood clot near his lungs, silent, deadly. He got lucky. Most people don't. In this video, we're not playing with metaphors. We're breaking down 5 dreams that, across cultures and centuries, have been seen as harbingers of death, not just physical, but spiritual death, relationship death, even the death of purpose. These aren't stories meant to scare you. They're meant to wake you up, literally and spiritually. So do yourself a favor. Don't skip around. Watch this all the way through. Your future self might owe you more than gratitude. It might owe you everything. And if you find this wisdom valuable, hit that subscribe button. Join this journey, because knowledge may not stop fate, but it will prepare you for it. Let's begin. Dream 1. Endless falling into darkness. When you're deep in sleep and suddenly feel yourself dropping through space, your body snaps awake like it just dodged death. That's common. Most of us have experienced that jolt, the brain misfiring, thinking we're falling off a ledge. It's usually nothing. But not all falling dreams are created equal. There's one type, a darker, quieter kind, that ancient cultures viewed with deadly seriousness. You don't land. You don't wake up in a panic. Instead, you fall endlessly into silence, into blackness. And after the fear fades, a strange peace creeps in. That peace? It's not comfort. It's a red flag. Because that type of dream, they believed, wasn't about your mind playing tricks. It was your soul rehearsing how to leave your body. For over 3,000 years, Egyptian dream priests recorded this exact vision, describing it as the soul detaching, drifting toward the threshold between the physical and the eternal. But what's even more disturbing is how your body responds when you wake up, not with sweat or racing pulse like in normal dreams, but with a bone-deep cold, especially in your hands and feet. A kind of stillness that isn't restful. It's hollow, like something is slowly pulling life away from the outer edges of your body. In modern psychological terms, this could be interpreted as the nervous system subtly alerting you to internal dysfunctions, silent heart conditions, hidden neurological issues. But the Stoics had a simpler truth. Nature whispers before it screams, and wise men listen to those whispers. Let me tell you about Everett, a 58-year-old truck mechanic from Indiana, stoic by nature, gruff by temperament. He wasn't one to chase down dreams or dabble in metaphysics. But one winter, he started having the same dream over and over. He was falling, not through air, but through black water, cold, bottomless, soundless. What haunted him wasn't the fear, it was the calm. Each morning, he woke without panic, but his hands were ice, his feet numb, the kind of chill that lingers deep in your bones. He told his brother, who shrugged it off. He told his pastor, who said it might be spiritual warfare. But then he mentioned it to a retired VA doctor at his church, who immediately insisted on a scan. What they found was a near-total arterial blockage in his left leg that had begun silently affecting blood flow to his heart. The specialist told him bluntly, if you'd waited a few more weeks, you'd have likely died in your sleep. Everett didn't call it divine. He didn't even call it fate. But he did call it a lesson. In his words, I used to think death was something that happened all at once, But now I think it starts slowly, quietly, like a voice you only hear when you're still enough to listen. That kind of clarity, that raw acknowledgement of life's fragility, is exactly what Stoic philosophy calls us to embrace. Marcus Aurelius warned us not to waste time debating what a good man should be, but to be one now, urgently. That includes knowing when to take warnings seriously, whether they come from the body, the mind, or something older than both. So if you've had this kind of dream, endless falling, no landing, eerie calm, cold hands and feet, don't write it off. This isn't superstition. It's ancient wisdom backed by thousands of years of quiet observation. Consult a spiritual advisor. Get checked medically. Do both. Because the point isn't just to prevent death, it's to walk with a deeper reverence for life. And in a world that numbs us to our own mortality, sometimes the only thing that can wake us up is a dream. Dream to deceased loved ones inviting you to follow. Fun fact, ancient Roman soldiers believed that dreams of the dead were battlefield omens. If a fallen comrade appeared and said nothing, it meant protection. But if he spoke and reached out his hand, it meant death was near. These weren't superstitions. They were warnings wrapped in silence, delivered through love. We like to think of dreams as harmless little brain movies, strange, but meaningless. And for the most part, they are, especially the ones where lost loved ones visit. They can be comforting, even healing, moments where we get to feel someone we miss, just for a little while. But across ancient traditions, Stoic journals, indigenous storytelling, and modern psychological case studies, there is one recurring exception. A dream that carries a gravity you can shake. A dream that doesn't end with a hug, but with an invitation. The difference lies in the dead's intentions. Are they simply appearing, or are they asking you to come with them? That's the line between comfort and a spiritual red alert. And when the invitation is extended, whether through a door, a table set for you, a bed being made, or a road they're asking you to walk down, it's not just poetic imagery, it's symbolic preparation. Take the case of Robert, a retired firefighter from upstate New York, known for his mental steel and physical resilience. Robert wasn't one to entertain anything he couldn't see or fix with his hands. But 2 months after his older brother passed, the dreams began. At first, they were peaceful. His brother sitting on their childhood porch, sipping coffee. But then came the shift. His brother stood at the end of a path that ran into the woods behind their house, and night after night, he would gesture silently for Robert to follow. At first, Robert dismissed it as emotional processing. But the dream returned with eerie precision. One night, his brother had cleared a seat beside him at a table that hadn't existed before. Robert woke up chilled to the bone, hands clenched, breath shallow. His wife insisted he speak to a local pastor who had once served as a hospital chaplain. The pastor didn't roll his eyes. Instead, he listened, asked questions, and gently suggested Robert get a full cardiac scan. What they found was a rapidly enlarging aortic aneurysm, silent, invisible, but potentially fatal. Emergency surgery followed. Robert lived barely. And now, years later, he doesn't call those dreams supernatural. He calls them mercy. From a Stoic lens, these moments are not about irrational fear. They are about awareness. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that nature always acts with reason, and it whispers before it roars. To ignore warning signs, whether physical or spiritual, is to live in arrogance. But to pay attention, that is wisdom. The Stoic doesn't cling to life in panic, but he also does not step carelessly into death. Psychologically, what makes these dreams so dangerous is their emotional bait. They're drenched in longing and love. The very thing that made the relationship sacred now becomes the vehicle for spiritual seduction. You're not pulled by fear. you're pulled by affection. And that's what makes it so easy to dismiss. The subconscious, when combined with unresolved grief, opens doors that reason alone can't close. That's why outside counsel is critical. You need someone spiritual, medical, or both who can see the terrain of your soul clearly when your own vision is blurred by emotion. The dead don't reach out to hurt us. Often, they appear because love still lingers. But love is not always a green light. When they prepare a place for you, it doesn't mean you're ready. It means you're vulnerable. These dreams aren't about fatalism. They're about intervention. And if you take them seriously, if you act by seeking guidance, by checking your health, by grounding yourself in what is, rather than what feels, you honor both their love and your life. This is the second of 5 dreams that signal the soul is at risk, not doomed, not damned, but teetering. And for those willing to look directly into that discomfort without flinching, Stoicism offers a firm hand. Face what you fear. Name it. Prepare for it not with panic, but with principle. Because fear ignored becomes fate, but fear understood that becomes your strength. Dream 3, drowning with surrender and strange physical reactions. Death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back. Marcus Aurelius didn't write those words to frighten us. He wrote them to prepare us, to remind us that the body whispers long before it screams. And if we listen closely, it might just save our lives. Nowhere is that more relevant than in the third warning dream we need to talk about, the drowning dream. Not the typical kind where you're flailing in waves or gasping for air as you break the surface. This one is darker, quieter, and far more dangerous. In this dream, you don't fight the water, you surrender to it. You sink slowly, deliberately, as if something inside you has made peace with the descent. You're aware, fully conscious, even lucid, as you watch bubbles escape from your lips, the light above growing dimmer, the water colder. There is no panic, just a strange, eerie calm. That calm is the warning. Unlike normal dreams that jolt you awake in fear, this one lets you linger. And when you do finally open your eyes, the experience lingers too. A weight on your chest, tightness in your breathing, a dry, metallic taste in your mouth. These aren't symbolic dream remnants. They're physical flags, your body's early alert system trying to get your attention. And in Stoic terms, they're a lesson in humility. You are not invincible. You are not untouchable. The machine that carries your soul is capable of breaking quietly while you sleep. Modern neuroscience is beginning to confirm what ancient wisdom already knew. The body and subconscious communicate in ways the conscious mind often dismisses. Your brain receives signals during sleep, slight oxygen changes, subtle cardiac irregularities, and encodes them in the language of dreams. And what better metaphor for suffocation than drowning? Not the violent version, but the slow, resigned kind, the kind where breath leaves your body not in struggle, but in stillness. This is not the kind of dream you ignore, not when it shows up more than once, not when it comes with symptoms. Because, as the Stoics taught, the wise man doesn't wait for disaster to validate his concerns. He acts. He prepares. He investigates. He seeks the counsel of those who know more, be it a physician or a spiritual advisor, and he does it without shame. Because self-preservation is not cowardice, it's clarity. The breath is sacred across every tradition, Stoic, Hindu, Christian, Native American. It represents life itself. The Romans called it spiritus, the Greeks pneuma. Breath is not just air, it's your soul in motion. So when your dream shows you the image of losing it, that is not a message you set aside for another day. That is your call to wake up not just from sleep, but from neglect, pride, or the illusion that the body doesn't need attention until it collapses. So if you wake from that dream with your chest tight and your mouth dry, don't dismiss it. Don't tell yourself it was just a bad night or something you ate. A Stoic meets reality where it is, not where he wishes it to be. And sometimes reality taps you on the shoulder in your sleep and says, take this seriously before it's too late. Dream 4, attending your own funeral. There is a dream so haunting, so quietly disturbing, that many men try to forget it the moment they wake. But that would be a mistake. Dreaming of your own funeral, witnessing your own death ritual as an outsider, is not just another reminder of mortality. It may be one of the most powerful spiritual warnings a human can receive. This is the fourth of 5 death omens that demand serious attention. And no matter how modern or rational we believe ourselves to be, this ancient signal deserves our full awareness. Because across history, across continents and centuries, people who ignored this dream often paid for it with their lives. What makes this dream different from a morbid nightmare is its clarity. There's a surreal vividness to the setting, whether it's a calm, perfect sky or a violent, unnatural storm. You'll notice unfamiliar mourners alongside faces you know well, all silently grieving a version of you that no longer breathes. Most unnerving is how you watch it unfold, not from within your own body, but from the outside, detached, as if observing the end of someone else's story. Yet deep down, you know it's your own. Psychologically, this is the dream where your unconscious confronts the fragility of your existence. And it doesn't dramatize it with fear, it delivers it in silence. This is the mind's sober mirror, where all illusions of invincibility fade, and what remains is the bare truth. Life is temporary, and the clock never stops ticking. For the Stoic, this dream is not foreign. Marcus Aurelius meditated daily on death, not to wallow in gloom, but to sharpen his sense of urgency. To him, memento mori, remember you'll die, was not a threat. It was a tool, a practice of awareness. But this funeral dream pushes that idea further. It doesn't just ask you to think about death, it lets you see it, feel it, watch the consequences of an unfinished life unfold before you. And here's where the warning becomes an opportunity. If interpreted properly with the guidance of a trusted spiritual advisor and the wisdom of the body's own signals, it can serve as a turning point, not just away from physical harm, but toward a deeper kind of living. Because when the mind sees death clearly, the soul often begins to live more truthfully. Don't brush this dream aside. If you've seen yourself buried, mourned, or eulogized in your sleep, and it felt clear and strange and still, do not wait. This is not paranoia. It's perception, your spirit trying to speak through the language of imagery before your body is no longer able to speak at all. The Stoic knows that death waits for no one, but he also knows that warnings are gifts, cold, quiet, and potentially life-saving. Listen. Act while there's still time. Dream 5. Watching your body decay or transform. There are certain dreams that don't shake you with terror, but unsettle you with silence, a stillness that settles into your bones, leaving behind a vague sense that something is unraveling inside you. Among all the dream omens we've explored, this final one, where your own body changes, dissolves, or decays while your mind stays fully aware, is perhaps the most mystically charged and the most psychologically revealing. It doesn't scream, it watches. And it invites you to do the same. These dreams aren't the typical ones where your teeth fall out or you're caught in public naked. This is something more intimate, more layered. You might see your hand turn to ash or your skin go transparent. You might look in the mirror and see a version of yourself slowly morph into something unfamiliar. But the most haunting detail is that you stay lucid the whole time, aware, watching, detached, yet disturbed. Across spiritual traditions, this dream is treated as sacred, a message from a deeper place, warning that something within you has begun to misalign. Let me tell you about Gerald, a retired Air Force pilot and father of 3, the kind of man who didn't scare easily. In his words, dreams were brain static. That changed after he had a recurring vision, his right arm turning to black smoke and drifting away as he stood in his garage, watching himself disappear piece by piece. He didn't wake up sweating. He woke up still, cold and quiet. At first, he dismissed it. But the dream returned twice more, exactly the same, no pain, no panic, just the quiet collapse of part of his body, while his mind did nothing but observe. His wife urged him to speak with their pastor. The pastor, an old Navy chaplain, didn't call it prophetic, but he did call it precise. He told Gerald to get his heart checked. What they found was advanced vascular narrowing in the arteries of his right shoulder and chest, dangerous enough to cause a heart attack. Intervention saved his life. That dream, whether we label it spiritual or psychological, was the signal. From a Stoic perspective, this dream is a confrontation with the inevitable. The body decays, that is nature's law. But when the mind is calm during the decay, when it bears witness rather than rebels, we are seeing a different kind of message, one that demands a response, not avoidance. The wise man, as Epictetus taught, doesn't fear what is natural, but he listens. He prepares. He acts without delay when the signs are clear. Transformation dreams are rarely random. They often mirror real physical imbalances, subtle breakdowns in the systems we ignore. The area of the body that changes in the dream usually corresponds to where something is going wrong. The detachment you feel in the dream is not peace, it's disconnection, a warning. If you've ever had this type of vision and dismissed it as fantasy, it's time to reconsider. The convergence of ancient spiritual insight and modern health psychology is clear. These dreams are not superstition, they are signals. Listen to them while there's still something to fix. Unlike vague signs we often dismiss, these warning dreams aren't just symbolic, they're precise. They don't merely whisper that something is wrong, they point a finger. They show you where to look: your heart, your lungs, your spine, your very spirit. And if you're wise enough to listen, they don't just hint at survival, they offer it. This isn't mysticism for mysticism's sake. It's a map drawn by the unconscious, an internal system passed down through generations long before we had scans or blood tests. To take these dreams seriously isn't to regress into superstition. It's to reconnect with the kind of inner wisdom our ancestors relied on when they had nothing else but the stars and their own intuition. We've now walked together through 5 dreams that have, in real cases, predicted heart conditions, neurological disease, spiritual crisis, and more. These aren't bedtime stories. These are coded warnings, subtle, surreal, and sacred. The dream of falling into darkness, of ancestors reaching for your hand, of drowning not with panic, but with surrender, of watching your own funeral unfold, of seeing your body come apart while you remain aware. Each of these dreams, if documented and interpreted correctly, has the potential to change your trajectory, not someday, now. So now you know, these aren't just dreams. They're warnings, 5 ancient signals built into your consciousness, quietly trying to save your life before something irreversible happens. The endless fall, the dead calling your name, the drowning that feels to calm, the funeral where you are the guest of honor, the slow decay of your own body while your mind helplessly watches. They're not random, and they're not to be ignored. If even one of these sounded familiar, don't wait. Talk to someone, a spiritual advisor, a medical professional, both. Because ignoring these dreams isn't just foolish, it's dangerous. And let's be real, the cost of doing something is nothing compared to the cost of doing nothing. Your journey doesn't end here. In fact, this might be the first time you've truly started paying attention. The next step? It's already waiting. The algorithm call it fate. Call it divine timing has already chosen your next message. Click the suggested video on your screen now. Don't question it. Don't delay. Let the wisdom guide you deeper into protection, clarity, and awareness. If you found this valuable, hit that subscribe button. Join a growing community of people who are finally waking up before it's too late.